And the government is kind of trying to backstep and fix it because they saw what they did wrong.
But who's saying the balance is skewed?
Well, the government.
The government. Do we really want the government making decisions for us?
No.
Because if I
that would be
if I remember my cannabis history correctly,
yes,
any cannabis advocate, any cannabis consumer, any cannabis patient should remember that we had 50 years of Republicans, Democrats, media, politicians,
telling us
democracy,
that
kingdoms,
and
apartheid, communists.
I get you.
All these government systems told us cannabis was wrong. Don't trust the government.
Right, and that's because there's a money play behind it, right? So it's always where the money goes. We could have that conversation between government, religion, money, everything, right?
But the government conversation is essential to the cannabis industry development.
Exactly. Well, because what they're putting the efforts into the things that are involved, right? We should be talking more safe banking. We should be talking about safety. We should be talking about how we are putting this product to the right people, to the right consumers, to the right things. We should be educating and advocating. We're talking about a plant medicine, right? And I think Oklahoma has taken that medicinal side and has rolled with it very, very well. But what it did from a perspective, in my opinion, this is 100% my opinion, but what I feel like that Oklahoma did in error is that when they gave all of these licenses out, there really wasn't a chance for success for the business owner who wanted to do the medicating, who had the knowledge and the information and the ability, the cultivation was 38% of the state.
Right.
And
well,
the government,
I think is it still 38%?
I think it's
okay.
And it is the government's proper role to give the enterprise an opportunity for success.
Yes.
By restricting other people's access to being in that marketplace.
No, but no. And what they did.
But imagine how if we were doing that with restaurants, we would have 300 restaurants, and then the 30,000 other restaurants wouldn't ever be able to open, and we'd be stuck with this inferior model because we had 300 restaurateurs who happen to get a license, but really do suck. But the government was going to help them succeed.
Right.
And that's what's happening in cannabis. It is. I know it's your opinion, but it's fundamentally wrong.
No, and the thing is here, and the funny thing about this, and I'm not saying funny, haha, but the funny thing about this is the people that we're putting in the leadership roles of these have little to no experience with cannabis as a whole anyway. And
On top of that, that's a good point.
And now they're making decisions about cannabis, and that's wrong.
We are back with another episode of MITA Unshackled here at MJBizCon 2023, and we have gone through so many states, I don't even want to repeat them all. We are now, hey, there's Emma from Arizona. We are now moving on to one of my favorite states that ever existed, not just because my great-great-great-great-grandfather was one of the first legislators from Oklahoma.
Awesome, Oklahoma.
But also because it's more of a free market-oriented state. So I'm Dimitri Downing, and I'm here with...
Oh, Max Uas from Dope SEO, helping to co-host the podcast here.
And I am Dawn Morris. I am the CEO and co-founder of Proteus 420.
What is Proteus 420?
We are a seed-to-sale software that supplements the business operations and talks to the state reporting agencies. So in Oklahoma, that would be Metric.
And how long have you guys been in business?
Since 2008. We've been servicing the cannabis industry for 16 years.
I did not know history goes back before 2008. So we're scooting over.
All right, we're going to shift. I'm going to have my butt hanging over.
So there was a reality before 2008. I think I was born at the beginning of time. Like in 2012, there was this big sound like...
Boom.
Dun, dun,
I feel like a 2001...
That was good. Okay, hey, you were on that one. Dun, 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 dun,
but wait a second. Were you banging the bones on that one?
I was the one with the bones. I was banging on him.
The 2001.
I was running with fire. You know?
So there was cannabis before 2012, 10, 8.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've been around since 2008.
Yes, we worked with the first Prop 64 license in California.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
And so, is there anything else you want to talk about Proteus 420 before we move on to why we brought you here about Oklahoma?
No, I'm good to just let's get into the meat and the bones of this. I love talking about Oklahoma.
What do you think about, is it Boomer or Sooner?
Yeah, you say Boomer
and
then you say
Sooner. Yeah. Boomer.
Sooner?
There you go. That's the thing. That's
like Marco Polo?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like in Ohio, you're like OH, they're like IO, but if you're in Oklahoma, you go Boomer, they go Sooner. Now, there's an interesting story behind that. Do you know the story behind
I
the boomers?
do not, and I want to know
All right,
this.
so I used to have a lot of clients, and I was like, what is this boomer sooner? So when they did the land rush in Oklahoma,
Okay.
they had cannons that were set up.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, so here's the thing. There were people that left sooner than the boom on the cannons. When they lit the cannon to go boom for everyone like lined up on the border of
yeah.
Oklahoma. So some people left sooner.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, so it's boomer sooner. Yeah.
That is a really great fact that will now live in my
In your head.
in my head forever.
I'm so full of ridiculous factoids that make no sense for anybody.
And to play off this ridiculous factoid, I'm still looking for my 40 acres and a mule. and I don't think I'm going to get it in Florida, but I might get it in Oklahoma. Why?
Oh.
Because there's a less of a barrier to entry, and for
Yes.
a peasant, villager, impoverished person with nothing but skills, dreams, hopes,
Yep.
ambitions, Oklahoma might be the place to be.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Oklahoma market structure.
So Oklahoma's market structure is medicinal only, so it's medical only. They started in 2018. I believe last year it was 2022. The legislation went to the people, and they asked for adult use, and the people said no.
Yeah, that was
Which
weird.
was weird.
That was really weird.
I was thinking that it was going to go through. There was this small part of me that thought, because the market, we were starting to see some structure in the market crash from that depression to repression type of situation. I thought we were going to see a little bit of that go, oh, well, we're going to do this and we're going to be more successful because, like I said earlier, they became the Oprah Winfrey state of licenses. You get a license. You get a license. Everybody gets a license. And so what we're seeing now with that, with not the adult use passing and with them staying only in medical, is now we're seeing a restructuring of the licensees and the way that they overpopulated the licenses because they want everybody to have a chance.
Overpopulated, easy, that's a loaded term. Overpopulated suggests that there's too many.
I think that there was, in my opinion, and that's opinion-based,
right.
opinion-based, 100% opinion-based. But when you look at the size of the state and you look at the population and the consumer bias or the consumer purchasing power there,
Right.
when you look at it and you look at someone, say, like California, the size of the state versus in California, there's 24,000 licenses in that state.
Different types, yeah.
But yeah.
But the population of the state is
much larger, like
six
times?
at least. Yeah.
And so you said overpopulated, and what I kind of constantly try to remind people out there who learn about the
Language is
cannabis
important.
industry, the language is all important,
Yes.
but also who determines when an area is overpopulated. If anything is overpopulated, the government
Yes.
actively, or the government through some strange sort of law that was created with this arbitrary number of whatever this, or the people themselves through the free market of ideas and
Right.
consumer choices.
Well, I
which
think
is
about
important.
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oklahoma, when we talk about Oklahoma, they are one of the rare states that every year they get to vote on everything. And
Yeah.
if it does not pass, it does not go into legislation. So the people of Oklahoma actually have a huge say. One of the very few states, if actually maybe the only state that has that opportunity. So when we talk about medicinal versus adult use, and we talk about, when I say the word population, what I mean in population, I mean licensed population,
Right.
right, to consumer buying.
Yeah, that's what I meant too.
So, but when I think about that, I think, wow.
But with the logic of limiting things, we could also limit human population if we wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't even get me started on
I'm
that.
just
Are we
saying.
talking Darwinism now? Wait a second. Hold
I think
on.
we are.
But we were talking about limiting cannabis licenses. Why not limit human licenses for
No,
childbirth?
I totally agree
It's
with
more
that.
important to me than cannabis licenses.
Well,
Somebody I should run for governor and propose limited licensing in childbirth.
well, I mean, you have to have a license to fish, right? You have to have.
But there's not a cap on that.
No, there isn't.
And there is no
Right?
cap on the
And
license to
that's
breed.
the key. There should not be a cap anywhere, anytime.
I agree.
But
I agree, but
But-
there's a double-edged sword to everything in life, right? There's this is why we do this. It's not, you can't have anarchy, you can't have chaos, right? So now if you would have asked 16-year-old me with my mohawk, I would have been like, anarchy, chaos, yes. But in this day and age, there has to be regulations, there has to be rules. It's for safety
Right.
purposes. And so when we think about licensing and we think about the number and the populace, no matter what the number is, there has to be a balance to that, and everything should have a balance. The good to the bad, the positive to the negative, right? The up to the down. Everything has to have that balance. And when we look at where we are right now with Oklahoma, we are finding that that balance is really skewed, and the government is kind of trying to back step and fix it because they saw what they did wrong.
But who's saying the balance is skewed?
The government.
The government. Do we really want the government making decisions for us?
No.
Because if I
that would be
if I remember my cannabis history correctly,
yes,
any cannabis advocate, any cannabis consumer, any cannabis patient should remember that we had 50 years of Republicans, Democrats, media, politicians
telling us
democracy,
that weed is bad.
Kingdoms,
And
apartheid,
I get you.
communists.
No, I get you.
All these government systems told us cannabis was wrong. Don't trust the government.
Right, and that's because there's a money play behind it, right? So it's always where the money goes. We could have that conversation between government, religion, money, everything, right?
The government conversation is essential to the cannabis industry development.
Exactly. Well, because what they're putting the efforts into the things that are involved, right? We should be talking more safe banking. We should be talking about safety. We should be talking about how we are putting this product to the right people, to the right consumers, to the right things. We should be educating and advocating. We're talking about a plant medicine, right? And I think Oklahoma has taken that medicinal side and has rolled with it very, very well. But what it did from a perspective, in my opinion, this is 100% my opinion, but what I feel like that Oklahoma did in error is that when they gave all of these licenses out, there really wasn't a chance for success for the business owner who wanted to do the medicating, who had the knowledge and the information and the ability, the cultivation was 38% of the state.
Right.
And
well,
the government,
I think is it still 38%?
I think it's
okay.
And it is the government's proper role to give the enterprise an opportunity for success.
Yes.
By restricting other people's access to being in that marketplace.
No, but no. And what they did.
Well, imagine how if we were doing that with restaurants, we would have 300 restaurants, and then the 30,000 other restaurants wouldn't ever be able to open, and we'd be stuck with this inferior model because we had 300 restaurateurs who happen to get a license, but really do suck. But the government was going to help them succeed.
Right.
And that's what's happening in cannabis. It is. I know it's your opinion, but it's fundamentally wrong.
No, and the thing is here, and the funny thing about this, and I'm not saying funny, haha, but the funny thing about this is the people that we're putting in the leadership roles of these have little to no experience with cannabis as a whole anyway. And
on top of that, that's a good point.
And now they're making decisions about cannabis, and that's wrong. What we need to be doing is we need to be reaching out to the people who are in our communities, who are running and fundamentally sustaining our communities, that are the consumer, that are the people who know the product, understand the product, what it does, what it doesn't do. And then maybe we can have better say, because I am the first person that will tell you, governmentally, we need to restructure everything. Everybody needs to be fired, and we need to start over, right?
Right. But if you look, and this is why we're going to build MITA USA around brands.
Yeah.
Because if you look to what the consumers and the patients want, they want innovation.
Yes.
They want competition. They want lower prices.
Choices.
They understand the cannabis. They want choices as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
They understand the cannabis plant. This is what they want. This is how we should be building an industry.
The education's there already.
And they barely understand the impact.
But is it
that
because there's a
licensing
whole part of the community and the industry that we're not servicing properly? Because look, we are not educating a lot of our bud tenders, right? Our bud tenders are essentially they are the pharmacists of the community.
Yeah, that's another issue.
So when we think about that, we're missing a large area of our seniors, right? There's a large, because we're looking, I think many people get stuck in the adult use side of it and don't really pay attention to the medicinal side of it.
I think this goes on a state by state thing though, because like there are state, like let's put it this way.
But that's what Oklahoma does. They're looking at it from a medicinal purpose.
They're looking at it from a medicinal purpose, but from a business flip side, it's like when you said 38% are cultivators, right?
Yeah.
When I
it
was
might
there,
be a little bit lower this year because they just cut the numbers.
You're right, but like last year when I was there, I was speaking and I was like, there are 7,000 licensed cultivators in Oklahoma.
Yep.
You know, and how many dispensaries? 3,000, 2,000?
As of today, there are 2,149 dispensaries.
So let's just say you have
Well prepared.
like
Yes.
basically 7,000-ish cultivators
Yeah.
supplying 2,000 stores.
Which what happens and that happens. There's too much product.
There's too much product. No, not too much product. Not too much product.
There's a
But
lot of product.
so it tanks.
there's less balance
Too
in
much.
regards to
Yeah.
it's not too much, but
Is there too much
there's definitely
Because I would like to be a little bit less air so I can charge you for it.
No, and that's the no. I know. I know.
No,
Right?
Go ahead.
No, I hear you, but I'm just saying, like basically, what they created was a Hunger Games situation.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah. I just have you. I'm not even gonna go into it.
I'm starting
the new movie's
licensing
good.
for air.com. Damn it. And there's going to be one license holder.
And I will control
And
all the air.
everybody will be
Do not breathe.
breathing,
Do not
downing.
breathe.
Not unless you
Well,
pay
that's like
me.
Spaceballs with like the air in the can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
imagine-
I need air. I need air.
And imagine, you see where this logically goes?
Every air.
You see where licensing
No,
goes?
I hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
Imagine if somebody came up with the idea and said, you know what? I think I should own the only license for all the commodities, goods, and services out there in the jurisdiction that I'm in. That's a damn good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to tell everyone that it was ordained by God. And then I'm going to tell everyone that I'm the king. And
Yes.
then I'm going to call it England. I'm then going to call. Wait.
Hold on. I am
No,
the second guy.
wait a second. I
can't
just
be-
had a no one called for the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't be the only one. So, hey, Pierre, do you want to start France? Yeah, I'm going to start France. And Juan, how about you start Spain? Okay, and then you create these licensing structures, and we'll own everything within there.
Right.
And no one else will have a
And
chance
everybody
or any
works for us for
opportunity.
forever.
Yep.
And and then
Yeah.
guess what happens? Some guy like Adam Smith, Dimitri Downing comes along and says, "This is horse shit. This is horse shit."
No, I get
And
you.
every single member of the cannabis industry should remember that
So
and fight against it.
where do we start that change so that we
Right
know
here.
right? So but where does the change? The change starts with the people, right? And so when you think about it from the people's perspective, what do they want? You got to listen to them. And what's happening, no one's listening to them. But even when we get to the higher edges of the government, when we talk about federal regulations and descheduling and things like that, there are so many things that need to be put in place before that because we have to start talking. We have to start having the conversations about where we are lost right now in cannabis. Well, there's a dysfunction in the community, right? What is cannabis? Cannabis has always been about community. It's always been building that consistency, that conversation, the 3 C's, conversation, community, cannabis, right? Those are the 3 things. You laugh, you joke, you have fun, you get to learn about each other, and there's no fear base there. We have been fear modeled for the last many years in more of a global structure from the federal government. So when we talk about knocking the pegs down, you have to start here to bring this down here.
You know what the 4th C of cannabis isn't?
What?
Caps. Come on,
I
give me
get you.
5
That's a good
High
one.
five.
That's
High
a good
five.
one. I got to give you that one.
High five.
Good
Right.
one.
You see what I'm
Yes.
saying?
I got you.
Yeah.
There you go.
The kids love me. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I think Oklahoma's an interesting thing to watch, just because there was such a it was in a sense the rush. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There was a rush for licensing. What's crazy is when you see cities with the population of 12,000 people with 36 dispensaries in them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's not crazy.
Is it crazy?
It's a free market.
It's
work.
a free market.
Capitalism
All
at
right,
work.
But it's
I see one
it is
person's-
capitalism at work. It's basically it's like we were talking about yesterday. It is a very interesting socioeconomic experiment
That's the reason
to watch it as.
Right.
What
You know,
if they
because
said-
because
But
they're-
we see what's wrong and we see what could be potentially right. But then we get hit with all of the government push and pull, right?
government push and pull, but part of that is that also there are people that just got into it. They're like, I'm going to sell weed. I'm
Right.
going to be rich.
Right.
You know, with zero marketing experience, zero
Business
business
acumen.
acumen,
Yeah.
zero personality. You know, some people open a dispensary and they're just miserable people. And like, you know, this is the thing. It's like because it's a retail operation, because it's cannabis. You can't. It's not an online store. You're not shipping across state lines. You're
Right.
not supposed to, at least in Oklahoma. You know, when you got 7,000 growers and 2,100 dispensaries, there's
Yeah.
some stuff coming out of there. But essentially, like, I think what's going to be interesting is within the next year or 2 or 3, like, the ones that are thriving are the ones that are going to be open, and the ones that aren't are the ones that are going to be closed.
And that
And then will come along some other people that try to start again, and they're going to fail, and they're going to succeed.
And that's
and eventually
true
the patients and the
business.
consumers will be left with the best.
Right, and that's capitalism at its finest.
That is,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And people will fail, and you know what?
And you
have to
learn-
enjoy
you should learn
watching
from
them
it.
fail. I mean, you don't go to a college football game and say, "Oh, it's sad somebody lost." You said, "I enjoyed."
You get the
frickin'
second place
game."
trophy. You didn't really lose.
Well, and maybe that's
you
the
got
problem
the runner-up.
because a lot of times now, and in where we are in life, everybody's getting a participation trophy.
Right.
So-
and so it's entire.
So they feel
industry, all
entitled to a
these
participation
thinkers.
trophy.
Right,
And that's the
right.
whole thing. I think if you get into business, you have to be willing to take the risk. You
Right,
know?
exactly. And there's
And
why, and
understand
that's,
it.
and knowing that your choices are going to determine what road you go down. What's the path less chosen. You know.
Yes.
Robert
wait,
Frost.
but you can't go down that second path because the government says
Just shut
you
it off.
don't have a license
and,
to.
Right. So I hear
You see
you,
what I'm
and I
saying?
acknowledge you, and you are right.
I-
You're
Whoa!
always right.
We convinced one.
Yeah.
High five.
Yes. Our job here is done.
Everybody else.
Oklahoma is
You heard me
officially
say
the
that.
best state in the union. And I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure
Pure
your business
Darwinism.
succeeds. What is your business? And close us out.
Pure
Again,
Darwinism.
I am Dawn Morris, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Proteus 420, and we have been powering the cannabis industry since 2008 in software and retail and delivery and cultivation and manufacturing, everything in between.
Work with her, support her, value her. She's a great member of the cannabis industry, cannabis community, a powerful thinker who looks at the facts, listens to the opinions, comes to the right conclusion. We have all the hope that your company does great.
Thank you.
And people should reach out to you. And how do they get in touch with you?
You can check us out at proteus420.com. That's Proteus 420.
Yes. Oklahoma, your favorite country?
.com.
Are you happy
.com.
with
I think Oklahoma's a wonderful
I
experiment.
love it. Yeah,
Okay.
I do
Yeah.
love the state.
Yeah.
Well, life is a wonderful experiment.
It's
All right.
also an hour away from where I live, and you can just cross the border, buy a weed, and come right back. And they decriminalized. So anyway,
We will see you on the next episode of Meet Unshackled. We got another state up next. Thank you, Oklahoma. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.